open up to people about the problems that you're facing, because a lot of the time I should never be doing this or that. I would say to do some serious praying. It's okay to take breaks. He's there smiling, happy, jolly, because he thinks he has lost another one of God's children. But I'm here to tell you that.
So on that point regarding seeking external support or assistance, how comfortable are you with opening up with people? Take me through what it requires for you to kind of open up to someone and say, okay, this is what I'm struggling with, I need your support, can you keep me accountable?
I think, as a young person, it's very hard to, open up to people about the problems that you're facing, because a lot of the time, a lot of thoughts are going on in our head as they're gonna probably think I'm so this, so that. I am this person's child, so I shouldn't be acting like this way. I should never be doing this or that. Or you might feel shame or unworthy or embarrassed to open up. But I think that me personally, what I do is once you start talking, I bring myself to a point that's I need to tell somebody. Once I start talking, I can't stop. So once you build up enough courage to say that first word, you're going to continue to let the other words flow. And I would say it's okay to go to God to ask Him who you should really trust yourself to go to. I think that's the best option, so that you're not giving out your information to somebody that you don't fully trust, or that may not give you the best advice or the best encouragement, or whatever the case may be. So I would say, you could always talk to a pastor. It might not be a pastor at your church, it might be a pastor at a youth event you went to, another church you went to, but there's always a pastor out there that is willing and ready to help you with whatever you're going through. And I think that, especially as a youth, there are youth pastors as well. In my case, Ralph always advocates that whatever I have going on, I could tell him. My uncle also advocates whatever I have going on, I could tell him, because they have faced some of these similar struggles, like Ralph was saying. Having people that have faced similar struggles and have gone down the same path is always beneficial, to have those type of people in your life to kind of guide you and say, okay, this is where I went wrong, and this is where you shouldn't go down, or you shouldn't go down that path. So yeah, I think that's basically it for opening up.
That's good. And on that point, do you think that there's a lack of transparency in the church? Do you think that the older generation are opening up about their journeys and their struggles to kind of give us insight as to, okay, what roads to avoid? Or do you feel is more they're on a pedestal and there's that element of judgment which prevents us being transparent or feeling like they can be transparent with us?
Me personally, at my church, I don't think that is the case in my church, but I know at a lot of other churches, the older generation, they are put on a pedestal, and they can be very judgmental and dismissive of, certain issues that young people go through, because of the mindset that you're young, you're being provided with all the essentials, you don't have any struggles, or you shouldn't be having any struggles. But that is not even true. As long as you're breathing, the enemy is out for you, out to take your life from God, out to get you to sin, out to get you to succumb to Him and give yourself to Him. So I think that, me personally, in my environment, the older people are always the ones praying for me. Any issues, any problems, I could go openly in front of, I could go to the elders and they would pray for me, back me up 100%. But I would say if you find yourself in a situation where your church environment it has that kind of judgmental um, pedestal that they put the older people on, or they put themselves on that pedestal and kind of look down on you, I would say to do some serious praying and see if it's the best option to stay in that environment. Because a lot of the times we stay in environments because they feel normal to us or because we're accustomed to us, but we're not bearing any fruit in that environment. So then we're just there repeating, doing the same sins over and over in a point of just habits, but we're not growing as Christians. So I say if you're in an environment like that or in a stage like that in your life, it's best to, really go to God and see what the best step to do is, whether it's leaving the church, finding another church, whether it's taking a break from the church to just you and God to have time to grow, whether it's, any of those, just taking that time to talk to God and see if where the environment you are in is bearing fruit or where the devil is thriving in it.
That's good. Wise word comes up. So one thing I kind of picked up and I want to talk on is when you're mentally overwhelmed. You highlighted how if you're in an environment where you feel you're not bearing any fruit, that maybe it indicated that you need to take time for yourself and kind of spend that time with God. So I want to ask, when you're mentally overwhelmed or maybe experiencing things like anxiety or depression or stress or worry, what's your kind of go-to response to those emotions and those thoughts and that state of mind?
I would say you have to be vulnerable. Not necessarily vulnerable to the people around you, but definitely vulnerable to God. God knows your struggles. God knows what you're going through. So once you reach that point of vulnerability, like, Lord, I am coming before you, Lord, I am struggling. I am depressed. I have serious anxiety, Lord, and I want you to come into my life and do something. Once you reach that point of vulnerability to the Lord, I guarantee you, He will listen to you. He will answer your prayer. Also, don't think that it is bad to cry, especially as a young teenage boy. Me personally, I used to be a big crybaby. I used to get not teased for it, but friendly banter for it from family, whatever the case may be. And I think that kind of changed how I was as a person growing up. So now I find myself not really crying, and then when I'm building up a lot of pressure or a lot of anxiety or just a lot is going on, I find myself just bursting out crying, or bursting out crying just at small things because it's just so much built up. But it's okay to let out emotion once you do it in a way that is good in the eyes of the Lord. That doesn't mean go and do drugs or find comfort in doing drugs or find comfort in addictions, lustful addictions, or partying or drinking or whatever the case may be. But find a way to express emotion, whether that is music, whether that is art, whether that is just a sport, anything which you feel that you can express yourself in. I would say definitely do it, because once you reach a point where you're just built up, a lot of stuff is built up inside of you. You could just snap just like that, and that's exactly what the devil wants. He wants you to snap at other people. He wants your life to basically be ruined, and you don't ever want to get to that point. So I would say definitely find an outlet, a creative outlet that you can let out your emotions and your feelings. Whether that's even if that's talking to somebody or talking to God, you can never go wrong with speaking to God about the feelings you are feeling because God knows you. He crafted you himself. He knows you better than anybody else in this world, better than your parents, better than your best friend. He knows you. So, and God does not judge. You can go to him with anything. So, yeah, I would say that's my answer to your question.
Very good answer. Very good answer. And one thing that I want to touch on, following what you just said, is kind of this toxic masculinity mindset and how the stereotype or the narrative that men don't cry and we're not emotional and those sort of things. I want to touch on. You've touched a bit on how it's affected you emotionally, but are there any other areas you feel like there's been toxic masculinity influences that have affected how you are now, or do you feel there's kind of comments that have been said to you or statements or trends from social media that have kind of changed how you believe and perceive yourself as a man?
If I'm keeping it 100% real, not really, because only apart from what I just shared, I like to tell people a lot that we like to hold ourselves as teenagers in an era of social media. We like to hold ourselves to a standard which is unrealistic and, you know, only something that is seen on social media. And, once you hold yourself to that standard, you begin to overthink and not see yourself as valuable or worth anything. And that's where the toxic masculinity comes in, because you see people on social media telling you, oh, you shouldn't cry as a man. As a man, you need to do this. As a man, you need to do that. You can't show emotion as a man. And once you hold yourself to those standards, that's when you really begin to hurt yourself more. So I would say, stuff as simple as going in front of a mirror and saying affirmations to yourself as a young teenage boy. That kind of breaks the bond that social media is portraying. And also, setting those limits for yourself on social media. If you're seeing this type of content a lot, it's okay to take breaks and okay to distance yourself from social media a little bit. If you're just seeing this repetitive narrative that's being said to you and it's affecting you mentally, it's okay to take breaks. Because, like I said, it's unrealistic. The standards are unrealistic. And it just ends up hurting you more by following them. And that's what the devil wants. Everything leads back to the devil. Because all he wants is to steal, kill, and destroy. And once he does that to your life, he's there smiling, happy, jolly, because he thinks he has lost another one of God's children. But I'm here to tell you that is not true. No matter what position you are in, the Lord always loves you. The Lord is always there for you. You can give your life to him. You can just fall before him with whatever worries, whatever problems you may have. And he will listen. He will answer. He is a good father. And that is one thing I will say. He is a good father. So just don't hold yourself to what social media or society is telling you should and shouldn't do. Because, like I said, it just goes down a slippery slope. And it leads to depression and anxiety and insecurity. So, yeah.
Very good answer. Very inspired by what you said. And one thing you said is how, as guys, if we feel that we don't want to kind of feed into the narratives of how society is trying to push us down, we can encourage ourselves by going in front of the mirror and saying affirmations. And to me, that's an act of self-love. So I want you to kind of expand on other ways in which young men, and even just men and women, can express self-love to themselves.
Let's get into what everybody wants to hear about. Discipline is the stepping stone on which a lot of stuff in life requires.
After midnight is when things start to get, a little crazy. Toilets get a little, freaky. So, kissing. This is a very dangerous game.